Let me start with a question. Raise your hand if you ever failed a class. Okay. Keep your hand up. I don't know what's happening here. Keep your hand up if you failed 2 classes. Okay, a few ones. Keep your hand up if you failed 5 classes. Well, apparently there are 2 of us who failed 5 classes. Happy to meet you. Yes, I have failed 5 classes, and I actually want to tell you the story of what happened the first time when I almost failed a class. So I was back in the 10th grade, that's like high school, I was 15 years old, and the chemistry professor asked me and a colleague of mine to go in front of the class. And they say, guys, you haven't learned anything, and I am a professor for quite a while, so I know you're not going to learn anything new. So I have no other option to teach you a lesson, but to fail you the class. And of course, because we were students, we said, no, professor, of course we're going to learn from now on. But he knew us too well, and he knew we wouldn't. But he said something very interesting. He said, guys, you love computers. What if you do something with your passion for computers for your colleagues at the chemistry class? So do something with computers for chemistry, and if I like it and if it helps, I'll pass you the class. So that was back in 2010, finishing 2009, beginning of 2010. And we went back home and we're thinking, hey, what can we do? And it was kind of cool back in 2010 to develop apps. And so we said, hey, let's build an app which does something for chemistry. So we built this thing, we called it ChemCraft. It was a periodic table of elements app back in 2010. Yes, that's the iPhone 4. That was the coolest thing in the world back then. And it basically showed the periodic table of elements in a more interesting way, a more graphical way. Don't ask me, I have no clue what's in that app. I still don't know any kind of chemistry. But we built this in like a month, and we went to our professor and we showed, hey, we did this. Do you like it? And he said yes. And he barely passed us the class. But something else interesting happened a few days later. We found out about a business competition called Company of the Year. It's an international business competition for high school students, organized by Junior Achievement. And we said, hey, we built this thing. What about making it into a business? And so, we registered for the competition. It had a local face in Bucharest, Romania, where I'm from, the capital of Romania. We won that one, and then we went to the national phase, and we knew that from each country, out of the 70 countries which are worldwide participating, and I think largely 50 to 60,000 high school students, from each country there's only one team going to the finals. And we won the national finals. That meant we were the one team which were about to represent Romania into a worldwide competition which happens each year in a different location. 1 year before our year it was in Switzerland, 2 years before it was in Brazil, and we couldn't wait to find out to what exotic country we will go with our chemistry app to represent Romania. And for the first time in the history of the competition, the worldwide finals were held in Romania. Yeah, that's myself a few years ago when I was in my 10th grade, 15 years old, with Stefan, my colleague, which were both failing chemistry, representing our chemistry startup and not winning the worldwide finals, but learning a lot of things. First of all, learning what's about building a business. Second of all, learning about how we can transform a problem which we have in something that helps others. Because by us transforming our failure in chemistry into this business, we actually helped 300,000 people who bought the app. And one of the most downloaded chemistry apps in 2010 was made by 2 failing chemistry high school students. Absolutely amazing where problems can lead you, or failures can lead you. My name is Cornel. I'm 28 years old. I was born in Romania, 28 years ago. And maybe a bit about myself chronologically. This was me at 3 years old. Not really that important. However, maybe a bit more important, I was born in a family which is a little different. Both of my parents and my sister have disabilities. Both of my parents have locomotive disabilities. They cannot walk without aid from different kinds of devices. And my sister has cognitive disability. And you can imagine that growing up in such a family had a really big impact on my life. I couldn't do the same things that most of you done with your parents growing up. I did never learn to play football from my dad. My parents were never able to go to a parents-teacher meeting at the school, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But it also made me very curious. Why am I coming from a family which is different? Why can't I do the same things that my colleagues are doing with their parents? And I discovered many years later that curiosity is just the first step. Because when you're curious, you want to learn from a lot of things, and you get a diverse background of knowledge. So from curiosity comes diversity. And when you have this diverse knowledge set, you want to build new things. You want to assemble the things which you know into new things, and that's creativity. And from creativity to innovation, it's only one last step. And I was incredibly curious from a young age. I began reading when I was 3. I began programming when I was 7. And I continued doing things like this, learning electronics, and most of the time staying in engineering, until roughly when I was 12, I started building something we called robots. This is me with my first robot. We haven't changed that much. That's me when I was 14. I'm exactly twice the age of that photo. But that yellow small thing is actually interesting. That was built in 2008. It was designed to be sent in the debris after an earthquake to identify victims. So you could control it wirelessly. It was built out of a bulldozer toy, actually. It had gas sensors to detect leakages. It had an infrared camera, so you can see actually in the dark. And it worked marvelously. And we know that because we tested it. But we really haven't tested it in the environment it was built for. We tested it somewhere else. When I went to high school, which is 9th grade in Romania, the high school I went to, I actually lived in the dormitory of the high school. And that dormitory had a very simple rule. On the 3rd floor, it's the boys' dormitory. On the 1st floor is the girls' dormitory. And for no reason can the boys go to the girls' dormitory or the girls to the boys' dormitory. But I haven't said anything about a robot. So one night, with a few of my colleagues, I take this small yellow thing and I put it at the entrance of the girls' dormitory. I go back to my room, and in my college room there were already like 40 boys behind of me. I opened my laptop, and we began exploring the girls' dormitory with this small yellow thing. If we were building that, if that's what we were using technology in the 9th grade, you can imagine what we're doing in with technology in university. What I remember from that night, the building was identical, each floor was identical, so our floor and the girls' dormitory was supposed to be identical, it mostly was, but there was a keen difference. We had the showers on the hallway, so all the boys were sharing like 6 showers, and all the girls were sharing their 6 showers. But the robot couldn't enter the boys' showers because there was like a very big gap it had to climb. There was a ramp at the girls' dormitory, so you can imagine where this robot stood. Anyway, we recovered the robot after like 2.5 hours. We promised that we will not tell anyone about this, of course. And the second day I will go to high school. It takes 20 minutes from the moment I arrive in the high school until the director of the high school calls me to his office. And he tells me 2 things. Cornel, first thing, if the robot was recording, delete the recordings. Let's say I did. And 2, if the most discussed subject in the entire high school is about a robot, what about building a robotics club? And that was actually how the first high school robotics club in Romania was founded back in 2008. It all started from this small yellow thing, which was sent into the girls' dormitory. And the high school director, that rather than kicking me out of high school, because he had enough proof to do that, he allowed my passion to build something else. This robotics club still exists. It brought Romania 150 international medals. Romania is #1 in the world right now in high school robotics. And there are 85 high school robotics clubs in Romania today. It all started from that small yellow thing sent into a girls' dormitory. And of course, from a high school director, which rather than kicking me out, he gave me an opportunity. And thinking about these 2 sort of failures which I had, I really understood that failures are just opportunities in disguise. Failing chemistry led us to build a business with 300,000 clients from over 100 countries. And breaking the rules led us to revolutionize STEM education in Romania. Failures are just new opportunities in disguise. Now, for the following story, I need a bit of help from your side. So can you please stand up? Come on, everybody stand up. I will need some help from you on this one. Everybody must stand up, perfect. If you wear glasses, take them off. Take them off, put them on your seat. Perfect, thank you. Raise your left hand. The other left. Raise your left hand, perfect. And now I want you to perfectly cover your eyes with your left hand. I don't want anybody to see anything, except me, I'm filming you. So cover your eyes with your left hand, keep them covered, nobody's allowed to see anything. Now, try to shake hands with the person next to you. Cover your eyes, you're not allowed to cheat. Come on, try it. If anybody's cheating, I will ask you to move around the room while not looking. Come on, try. Try to shake hands with someone. You're not allowed to look. I'm sorry for the ones which are alone on their seats. You can also look behind and forward. I mean, don't look, just try to find. Come on, try. Okay, half of you managed. Okay, take your hand from your eyes. Perfect. Now, before sitting, take your glasses. And then you can sit. I think already the camera guys hates me because I'm moving all the time. And as amusing as this is for us, because it's an amusing exercise, I mean for the people which were alone, it was kind of a lonely exercise, but anyway. As amusing as this is for us, it's an unfortunate reality to 40 million people in the world which are blind. We have 40 million blind people in the world today, and if you look at what solutions are available for them, you'll not really find that many. Even today, the most used advanced mobility solution for the blind is the guide dog. But to train a single guide dog, it can cost up to $60,000, and to take care of a guide dog is almost impossible for a blind person. Because of this, in the entire world, to 40 million blind people, you only have 28,000 guide dogs. Simply put, the best mobility solution is not a scalable mobility solution. But here's where we come in. We founded this company we call Lumen, which builds glasses that empower the blind to live a better life. What we do is we took the autonomous driving and artificial intelligence and robotics technologies, but mostly autonomous driving, and we scaled it down to something you can wear on your head to replicate the main features of a guide dog without the drawbacks that make the guide dog a non-scalable solution. But rather than talking about the technology and everything, I know everybody's from tech here, that's exactly why I don't want to talk about tech. I actually want to talk a bit about the people behind and what we learned from that aspect. And I want to start with Ciprian. Not sure if that's an easy name to pronounce for you, but Ciprian is his name. Ciprian is an industrial designer. That means he doesn't work with a keyboard, even if he has one. He actually works with the paper in front of the keyboard. He draws. He builds products. He tries to design something that can be easily used, easily manufactured, etc. 2 years ago, when we founded the company, the company is 2.5 years old at this point. So 2 years ago, at the beginning, we were doing marvelously on the technology, but what we were building was not really that pleasant to be used, manufactured, etc. And somebody recommended me this guy. And I gave him a call. I say, hey, this is what we're building. Do you want to help? And he said yes. The following week, he started drawing sketches based on some of our requirements on how this product, which we're building, can look, feel, be manufactured, etc. And then he comes in the weekend presenting me like 100 sketches, and they were horrible, all of them. But there was something there. There was something there which I couldn't understand, but it was there. I told him, Ciprian, this is shit. But let's do something. We can continue working together on one condition. For the following week, 4 hours a day, you're going to be blindfolded. And for the other 4 hours, you're going to spend time with blind individuals to really understand what they're facing and to really converse with them and understand their point of view in this. And Ciprian did this. And the following weekend, he drew 70 more. And these ones were very good. Out of the 70, we voted upon 8. And those 8 we 3D printed, put some weights, dummy weights in them, and we sent them to blind people in our country to actually test them a bit and see how they feel for them. and one design line won. And that design, we iterated at this point over 100 times. But at the beginning of last year, when we were iterating this design, we get an email. After we publish it and we make it public, what was the design of our product, etc., we get an email, and it was from Red Dot, the largest industrial design association and award in the world. And it started with congratulations, which meant I read it. And it said, congratulations, you have been nominated to be one of the 40 designs to win the Red Dot Best of the Best award. Now, let me explain what that means. Each year, you have 4,000 products which win a Red Dot award, 40 products which win a Best of the Best, 20 of them are Apple. And there we were with Apple. But it was something else. You are also nominated in the last phase among 4 other design studios from the US, UK, and Romania. It was the same email to everybody. We were the only one from Romania. For something called the Red Dot Luminary, which is the award which is only given once a year to the best industrial design in the world during that year. And it followed some judging, and it followed a lot of emails and discussions and interviews. And we found out our competitors. For example, Spaceship Unity from Virgin Galactic was our competitor. So yeah, no big competition. And then in November, at the worldwide premiere, we found out that the best industrial design in the world was designed in Romania by a guy who initially couldn't get, out of 100 sketches, a good one, by a country which has nothing to do with industrial design. The best industrial design in the world was won in 2021. It was our glasses from Romania. And I really understood a lot of things. First of all, Ciprian is very good with champagne. That's him next to me there. But the second thing, this award made Ciprian one of the best industrial designers in the world. And then I realized, Ciprian was always one of the best designers in the world, industrial designers in the world. He never knew. He never had the opportunity to prove himself. He never had the context which can showcase the skills which we have. And that's one thing which I really learned in the last year and a half, 2 years. Ordinary people, in the right context, can do extraordinary deeds. And it's our job as leader or as colleagues to create that context for the people around us. Because in my company, we have won so many awards, we have made so many things which were never possible before possible, only by creating the right context. Ordinary people in the right context can do extraordinary deeds. Lumen is growing, is accomplishing a lot of things. For example, she's Andrea. She's blind from birth, since birth. And to give you a bit of background, no blind person in the world can go to a large store like, I don't know what you have here, Kaufland or Metro or large grocery stores. They can't go in such a store alone, not even with a guide dog. It's simply too complicated. Andrea was the first blind person in the world who was able to go alone in such a store and purchase what she needed, empowered by our technology. When we're testing in various environments, she was the first to actually accomplish this, and now this is possible by a whole lot more people. And I remember the night we were testing this, the moment she actually, it's not visible here, but the moment she reached the cash out, or I think that's how I call the cash out location, she found out I was there and she gave me this hug. It's absolutely, absolutely amazing. And we began thinking of what are the things which, well, what are our values, what are the things which allows us to accomplish so much in just 2.5 years since we're founding. Because, for example, we're also the only company in Romania to win funding from the European Innovation Council. In Bulgaria, you actually have 2 companies. But in Romania, there's only 1. And today, in 2.5 years, we raised 13 million euros already. We're growing at a rate which no other Romanian company has ever grown. And we're providing innovation in the least innovative country in the EU, which is Romania. So you actually bet us a bit, you actually are better than us on that. You're second to last, and we are the last. So, but we're doing great. We're trying. And that's how we actually identified our main value. Make meaning, not money. We never founded this company to make money. We founded this company to help people. We founded this company because we knew there's a huge problem and we kept understanding it. And we never cared about the money. And exactly because we never cared about the money is why we had the largest investment round in our Romanian startup, which is still in Romania. Because we didn't care for the money, we built a product which is actually empowering people. And that's when we realized it's make meaning, not money. Money will come after. And with everything you do, if you prioritize helping, you prioritize building things to help, and not thinking about the money, you will inevitably get to the money the moment you are helping. It's about seeing the problem and understanding it right, and continue understanding it, and then come with a solution only for the purpose of helping. And then lastly, money will come. Unfortunately, as you know, business is exactly the opposite way. We think about the money, we search for the solution, and at the end we find the problem which the solution tackles. And that's not scalable. If you put it in the right order, make meaning, not money, money will come after. So 3 things. Failures are just new opportunities in disguise. Because I failed several times is why I became an entrepreneur. It's why I built some things which help many other people. Ordinary people in the right context are capable of extraordinary deeds. My team is an example of that. We build a context for each other, and the best work of our lives was done in the last years since we are together. But it's our job as leaders and as colleagues and as humans to create that context for the people around us. And lastly, if you want to remember one thing from everything I told you, make meaning, not money. Money will come after. Thank you. You can find me on LinkedIn.
We can do a couple of questions.
Sure.
Okay.
Questions? I'll also change the image to a better one. This is better. There's a question over there somewhere. I think I saw something.
How did this idea come to you?
Sorry?
How did the idea for these glasses come to you?
How did the idea come to me? Yes, by accident, like any idea. Before answering your questions, I just want to mention ideas are worth nothing. It's just the implementation which really matters. I would actually argue the problems are much more important than the solutions, and ideas are mostly worth nothing. I was in a discussion with a friend, and we're discussing about everything to tech people, myself and him. And at some point, we say glasses for the blind, and we're like, that sounds nice, let's search. And we couldn't find anything, but that's how we actually got to the problem. And that's when we began understanding the problem. And that's where the first ideas of helping came from. Because from the initial idea of helping up to the point which we are now, it was a very long way. It was a very, very long way. But I think a better question is what motivated us to start. Before doing this, I was head of innovation in one of the largest automotive corporations in the world. I had a very nice life, and suddenly I decided to quit all of that in order to, basically go into a suicidal mission to try to do something which nobody was ever able before in Romania, which is a country, as I mentioned, very good at innovation. And that's definitely because of my background and of my family. Not sure if I answered your question, but that's my answer. Another question. There's one over here. By the way, I can't really see you that well from the stage because of the lights, so sorry if I'm not looking at raised hands.
How does the product actually work? Does it speak in the ears of the user?
Let me make an analogy. If you have a guide dog, you can ask the guide dog to take you to the door, to take you to the stairs, or to take you to an empty seat. And the guide dog will do this by pulling your hand. That's what it does. You give the command, it pulls your hand, it stops you at the stairs, it guides you around, keeps you safe, etc. You can ask the lumen system exactly the same commands, and it will do the same, with one key difference. Rather than pulling your hand, as the guide dog, the glasses pull your head. What do we mean? We have this patented interface which we developed. It basically feels like something is holding your head, and pulling you in the direction you have to go. It's immensely intuitive. We tested with over 200 blind people. I would say it's more intuitive than somebody pulling your hand. We also have audio feedback, but that's for some very specific use cases. But in general, that's how we give the input. No, guide dog pulls your hand, we pull your head. On a technological aspect, it's a bit more complicated because we're discussing outdoor, indoor navigation, we're discussing visual odometry, we're discussing SLAM, of course, we're discussing depth processing, we're discussing, I think, over 25 machine learning models running, some of them in parallel, and we're discussing only 600 grams. That's an autonomous driving car on your head. So it's absolutely amazing how much technology we're able to fit in that thing. I think it's most probably the most advanced wearable in the world at this point. So yeah, that's how they work. Other questions? There's a question over there. And the microphone is coming. Well, now you have two microphones.
All right, this is awesome, and thank you for the thank you. This was a very inspiring and very interesting presentation. That much that I couldn't hold myself. I was actually not going to do this because I'm following you, and it's gonna be a tough act to follow. But I have a question. We've seen startups in that space where you try to enable technologies, unfortunately fail. Now, of course, I wish yours all the best, and I'm sure it's going to go great. But what happens, because we've seen tech, come from startups, be used by people who need it, and then unfortunately when the startup fails to operate or ceases to operate, that tech is sometimes useless or no longer maintained, or the cloud servers that enable it don't work, but yet the people need it. So have you given any thought in that regard? Just in case, are you planning to open source or perhaps widen the availability to that technology to community so that it can keep on regardless of what happens commercially with your venture? Thank you.
Sure. Yes, a lot of startups failed, and it makes no sense why we haven't failed yet. I mean, we started with that idea, most probably we're going to fail. It's just not happening, it's not coming to us. Okay, why do startups fail in this space? First of all, doing any kind of assistive technology which is aimed at helping people with disabilities, it's hard. It's hard because it's very hard to emphasize, to understand a disability, and blindness is one of the worst disabilities to understand. We do exercises almost monthly, we blindfold ourselves, we do new things together, we try to understand even better what it means to be blind. We test in tremendous amounts of times with blind people to really understand how we can help and with what we're not helping. We're working with over 600 blind people on that. So for us, what always kept us afloat is the fact that we always try to focus on the problem and to understand it even better and to really work with the blind people up to some point, because it's not really that easy. Again, it's very hard to understand the disability. And that's one of them. The second part of them is definitely the stupid ambition that we are able to do this. Honda tried this 6 years ago, they failed. Toyota tried this, they failed. It's immensely complicated, immensely difficult, but I think we're at the right time and with the right amount of stupidly ambitious people to make this work. And we are surrounded by absolutely great people and great company. We are working with some of the best companies in the world which want to see us succeed. We already are working with governments which want to purchase this technology. And then lastly, maybe another thing, what we develop, the moment you take autonomous driving technology and you scale it to something you can wear on your head, you are pushing some limits of technologies and you're pushing some technologies forwards. And those technologies can be reused in other spaces as well. And we see the opportunities on that, working on certain business cases in other directions, but our main focus is the same. We started this with only one purpose, to help people. And we started with people which are blind, we will continue to people with severe visual impairment, and more we will announce soon. Yeah, I think that's the answer. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.